Is where Nigeria is headed, and this is exactly what we're going to witness. It's very unfortunate that at this moment the government is raking in more money while the masses, the citizenry, are suffering more, because that is exactly what is happening. The government decided to take away the burden on them and transferred it to the citizenry. So now that the market dynamics are what determine the price of petrol in the market, that is exactly what we will be facing. But again, I want to believe that at this juncture the president would want to do something about this current situation, because you cannot just allow us Nigerians to our faith with this issue of market dynamics, because there are two biggest policies he has made that we continue to hammer upon. The issue of removal of fuel subsidy without adequate preparation, because you just decide to remove fuel subsidy it's just like you are anticipating rain, then you now decide to go and play in the mud. You get, because you're anticipating rain, and unfortunately it didn't rain. You're already dirty. So that is exactly what happened. That's the situation the president left Nigerians. Yes, we expected that Dangote refinery would have started production before now, but up till now we're waiting, still waiting. I was having an interaction.
Did we even expect it, or did we just dream it? It was more like wishful thinking.
No, we really expected, simply because the former president with a lot of dignitaries across the world came and commissioned that particular refinery. So we were expecting that refinery would definitely be supplying enough, because based on the capacity, 650,000 barrels per day, which means it's going to supply our total demand, even when we are demanding for that exorbitant inflated figure of around 60 to 65 million liters per day. That capacity for refinery will be able to meet up with the demand and even export the remnant to other countries. But unfortunately, here we are today without Dangote refinery, without any government-owned refinery functioning, and the modular refinery still, we're not having any headway with them, although there are people who are developing interest in that particular sector. But the way things are moving now, if it is about us relying wholly on importation of petrol, then the marketers are even saying no, we cannot even import anymore, because we cannot have difficulty in accessing forex. By the time you impute or you invest huge sum of money in that importation, when it comes down, the depot price now has increased. So if at all you are going to bring it now and sell at 617 naira, it is going to be a very huge loss for you as an investor. And part of the reason why this deregulation took place was that it is going to encourage private investors to come in, even foreign investors to come in and invest in terms of infrastructure in the oil. A lot of people will import, so the healthy competition will now crash the price down. But unfortunately, we are not seeing any of such coming to play.
This is going to bring us back to when we have always reiterated on the show that this was implemented, this fuel subsidy removal policy was implemented without proper planning, and it is causing more than enough havoc on Nigerians. Imagine that it's only Emadeb that was able to import. They are the only ones that were able to import, and the company is still struggling to break even.
Even at that, before they were able to raise the forex to bring the 27 million liters of petrol they were able to bring a couple of weeks ago, they had to go into agreement with 5 different commercial banks in Nigeria. 5 DMBs before they were able to come up with the desired forex to import the fuel. So this time around, it's really a difficult situation that I don't think there is any individual or any entity that can salvage the situation except the government, who plunged us into it.
What happened to what do they call these smaller refineries?
Modular.
Yes. Why do we keep? And this is a question that has been on my mind for a very long time. Why do we as a nation keep closing down these modular refineries instead of looking at it as an avenue to actually begin somewhere? Because we cannot keep holding on and waiting for the Dangote refinery that is huge before it comes. Can't we use these modular refineries to at least help? We are not saying it's going to completely they cannot supply the entire country, but they can reduce to an extent.
Yeah, to an extent it's going to reduce, but the issue there is the government don't sell crude to individuals. That is one thing. They don't sell crude to individuals. So that is part of the limitation.
Why are we doing that?
There are reasons for not doing that, because now that we don't even sell domestically, we sell to outside countries. That is, we export our crude oil. You still have a number of oil bunkering, pipeline vandalism.
Are we trying to
and
say
all of that? So if at all you have a local market for that crude, then the bunkering will increase.
Well, I want to
you have
ask
to look at the
this.
security part of it and the economic part of it.
Are we trying to say that oil bunkering? Let me say it like that before are we trying to say it's beyond the powers of the federal government? They cannot nip this, they can't handle this, there are no ways to deal with it, because it's like saying, oh, I'm just going to shut this down and then deal with. Look at now, we are struggling.
That really,
we've come to a place where it's okay to look at other options at this point.
There is no individual or non-state actors that should be able to compete with the government. No individual or group can really come up and say no, they can withstand the government. But again, we talk about something that happened yesterday. Pastor Tunde Bakari gave a national address, a national broadcast, where he talked about a lot of issues. In fact, top of it was that President Tinubu should kill corruption, not corruption to kill Nigerians, because that is exactly what is happening. Corruption is trying to kill Nigerians instead of Tinubu to kill corruption. Because we talk about the essence of removing fuel subsidy was because you want to break a cartel of people who are sabotaging the economic interest of the country, or the economic sovereign of Nigeria, because there are few individuals. So since you are able to know there are few individuals, you should be able to know who are those individuals. Use the state power against those individuals, arrest those individuals, because subsidy regime has been made by a lot of controversy, corruption, maladministration, and what have you. Bring those people to book. Make sure that you cite example with them. By the time you take them away from the activities, then you have sanity in that particular sector. But until and unless the government start to fight these people visibly and not shying away, you just cut corner. This one, that there's this a funny thing that people used to say, just on a lighter note, if you want to attack me direct, stop cutting
corners, which is what they are doing. I mean,
what they are doing.
One of the steps that President Tinubu took when he got into power, and we thought, okay, this man is trying to actually fight corruption, was the suspension of Governor Emefiele, governor of the central bank, and then
also the EFCC chair
and the EFCC boss. But guess what? They are still stalling, because they know you pursue these persons, you just might find yourself in the mix, or people you're trying to protect. So can we actually fight corruption from the roots or rather, let me coin the question like this: how can we expect corruption to be fought when the people that should fight it have their hands soiled in it?
It is really good that will help us. But again, the president needs to do something about this fuel price, because I don't think Nigerians will be able to bear any increase in fuel price. Yes, we are not ignorant of the fact that it is not the government that determines the price of petrol in Nigeria. The sector has been deregulated. It is the market dynamics who will determine how much it goes. But again, Nigerians, who are the citizens who you swore an oath on the 29th of May to serve, they are not really enjoying the services you are rendering currently. So you have to look at it holistically and see wherever there is a way you can tweak and make some adjustment to cushion the impact, because the subsidy palliative that we've been expecting has not landed up till date. We've heard the national broadcast where you talked about a lot of things that you want to do for Nigerians. As juicy as they sound or they look on paper, we are waiting for the implementation. And again, we are begging, Mr. President, we cannot afford any other increase of fuel price in Nigeria. Do whatever you can do in your capacity as the number one citizen and as the chief servant of the masses in this country.
I mean, it's safe to say, I would say that, the government happens to seem distracted by the coup in Niger Republic, and while they are very distracted, the Naira has plunged further in the foreign exchange markets last week, exchanging at a record high of 955 Naira to a US dollar on Thursday. Now, let me say this. Of course, this spread panic through the business community and apprehension amongst Nigerians. But do you remember when we used to say this like it was a matter of fiction? Say, if you play. Naira will soon reach dollar will soon reach 1,000. I don't know if you get it. And now it's becoming a reality. 955.
Very close.
45 Naira in between. Now, President Bola Tinubu and the Central Bank of Nigeria need to move fast, like we've always reiterated here. and creatively and pragmatically to avoid losing control of the currency and the economy. The omens are bad. Since President Tinubu pushed the CBN to merge the exchange rates 2 months ago, the Naira's southward descent has accelerated. The twin goals of facilitating a realistic rate and eliminating the wide arbitrage gap created between official rates and informal market rates have remained elusive. At the official exchange rate of 767 naira 76 kobo per dollar, the gap has hence room for illegal arbitrage raised from 100 naira per dollar towards 200 naira per dollar. Remember, I sent you that message and I was asking, I was saying it looks like we are going back to the same thing. It's almost 200 naira difference. Are we going back to lying to ourselves about what this really is? Which brings us back to the major issue we have in this country. Corruption will continue to thrive because the people that should actually fight it and stop it, it's not like they cannot. They know what to do it. They are just afraid that they will get implicated in the... That's why they say you do not eat on the same table with the devil. You don't dine with the devil, because now there's no way to stop it. That's the situation we found ourselves in. We have too many people sitting at the end of affairs of the country.
Too many powerful people.
Too many powerful people that have so much of allegations, corruption allegations and cases on their neck. Some are still in court. Some they are still saying it's alleged. Some they've not even taken to court, and nobody is doing anything about it. There is no accountability. You cannot even trust the judiciary to hold the people that should be held accountable. And you think that corruption will not continue to thrive. Look at where it's taking us. We are 955 naira to $1. And that's the reality, because we cannot say the 700. We can't say it's 767. Where would you see it at 767?
That is the biggest issue. This is Business Around Town on Voice of the People 96.1 FM, where we give you all the juiciest business headlines. We go into details of it to give you the stories that are happening in the business world. We look at the foreign exchange. We look at the Nigerian stock market. We also look at aviation, oil and gas, and other business headlines. Business code inclusive. What you will be listening to, Ross. We will be able to take one more story, and after this one we will go on a quick commercial. When we return, we move to other segment. All right, this headline says Naira slides further as dollar shortage hits banks. The widening gap between the demand and supply of dollars in the banks and at the parallel market has continued to worsen the value of the Naira, findings by the Punch has revealed. In less than 3 weeks, the Naira lost 100 Naira after sliding from 860 to the dollar to 960 to the dollar at the parallel market as of Friday, before the Central Bank of Nigeria enabled the free float of the Naira against other global currencies in June. The Naira had traded at 471 Naira to the dollar at the investor and exporter window, even though then there were other windows that you can get the dollar at different rate and different value. But again, this is what we are talking about as a result of the unification by the president, the directive by the president to unify the foreign exchange market. However, on June 13, a day after the regulator floated the local currency, the Naira rose to 664 to the dollar the next day. The Naira, which traded in a close margin at both the official and I&E window and parallel market, soon began to witness serious volatility in the black market after crossing the 900 Naira to the dollar ceiling at the parallel market last week. The local currency tumbled to 925 to the dollar in Lagos on Friday. The Naira reached a high of 799 to the dollar before closing at 740 at the I&E window. At the I&E window. However, at the parallel market, the Naira closed at $930 in Lagos and 960 in Abuja at the parallel market. The development came as dollar shortage hit banks, with several lenders complaining of not having enough greenback to meet customers' demand. At the parallel market, currency dealers also complained of dollar shortage. Banks officials said the CBN removal of cash deposit limits on domiciliary accounts in June had led to the repatriation of funds through the banks. As a result, he said the demand for the dollar had outweighed the supply significantly. Some of the dollar are being repatriated through the banks, but the demand is still higher than supply because everyone is still sourcing for dollar for imports. PTA, BTA, others, and official of a lender who chose to speak on condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to speak on the matter, said Nigerians are still holding dollar. Customers are still holding forex because they don't trust the policy. Banks are not getting forex supply from the CBN regularly like before, he added. Also, an official of Tier 1 Bank who pleaded anonymity said before the banks used to get dollar from the CBN every week, but now it has reduced drastically. We have not been getting again. Banks are sourcing for forex everywhere. The banks don't have enough. We have not been getting supply from the CBN for weeks now. The President, Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria, Aminu Gwadebi, in a chat with Punch correspondent, said liquidity squeeze in the forex market had continued to put the naira under heavy attack from speculators. He said the dwindling supplies in the I and E windows shifted the demand to the parallel market, where volatility and spikes is most pervasive. The entire forex market is plagued by liquidity shortages. The banks, as a result of the supply shortages, are limiting their available position for the financing of visible letters of credit and abandoning the invisible requests like PTA, school fees, medicals of their clients, and inadvertently adding more pressure in the parallel market. He added it is most licensed BDC, due to their demand for KYC requirement, have lost their clients to the parallel and undocumented space with no regulation and standardization. At this juncture, we will go pay some bills. When we come back, we will continue with other segments. Stay with us. This is Business Around Town on Voice of the People, 96.1 FM Abuja.
Content on radio, and you have been loving it. Now we're taking it further. Catch us live on YouTube at BOP TV for all the juicy content you can't resist. Talk shows, exclusive interviews, news, lifestyle, and more. It's all about you. BOP TV, show up, speak up.
The award-winning pizza in the US is now here in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Romeo, the pizza champions, and cold berry ice cream.
Delight in every school.
Visit any of our outlets and feel the rich taste from the pizza champions and cold berry ice cream.
At number 4, Obomosho Street,
Area 8, Geriki, Abuja, or 3rd Avenue, Gwaripa, Abuja, or Federal Housing Estate, Phase 2, Lube, Abuja. Call 0908-831-5906 or 0908-831-5908 or 0909-238-9861. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter at romeospizza.ng.
Website
www.romeospizza.ng. Romeo, the pizza champions.
Are you aware that Iruka Online Limited installed and designed a 100,000 capacity church building? Oh yeah, we are the sole distributors of global leading brands all over the world, such as Wafday Line Array, speakers and digital amplifiers, Preseno's digital mixers and studio equipment, Coswell workstations and keyboards, Fender guitars, Mapex drums, Ashdown bass combos, just to mention but a few. We offer flexible payment plan handled by our financial department with 24/7 customer care support system. You can visit our website on www.iruka.com to avoid buying fake products. You can also visit our showroom at number 36 Lagos International Airport Road beside Golden Tulip Hotel. Iruka, never settle for less.
Baba Sani, remember that my daughter that will be getting married I told you about, and I'm sure that the cow I've asked you to keep is very ready. I don't want to hear story.
I don't tell am say make you no worry. If na cow I get am
the
big
problem
big.
I have with you people is that you don't understand the business. How can you Okoko want to go and buy cow, you now go and order from him?
Omo Igbo, whenever I want to buy meat I usually consult our friend. Why are you not feeling that jealous?
But I'm supposed to be the distributor. That is the business.
Na you dey sell am for the cow? You get am for the cow? Na your own?
Both of you should not quarrel.
Sell am for cow.
I am not here to quarrel. More with high chief. Talking to you is part of my introduction. Look at this bombastic element.
Journey with us to visit 3 troublesome friends. From the east, we have the money and container man.
Yes, it is me now. High chief, mire wiro nkizi na libo. You get me?
To the west, we have a man that eats only meat and loves owambe.
I still remain your one and only Otumba Owonikoko Agbabiaka.
All the way to the north, we have Baba Sani with his 40 children and 4,000 cows and still counting.
Yo, my people. Sunana Baban Asan. Na me born am for Asan and I get am for plenty cows.
Listen to Era Matters only on VOP 96.1 FM every weekday by 10:30 a.m.
The hustle never stops. The grind must continue.
It seems that, yes, I would like to buy something.
Regardless of how hard life gets, take a break from the norm. Let's face life issues head on. From alcoholism to obesity, entertainment and lifestyle. Everything that matters on Matters. Mondays to Fridays, 12 to 3 p.m. on Voice of the People, Abuja. Because your voice matters.
Business around town right here, Voice of the People, 96.1 FM Abuja. Myself and Aliu we've been giving you updates in the world of business as it concerns all of us. Sadly, we don't have so much to celebrate, especially today being Monday, and we do hope that the government is paying attention to these headlines on their own and realizing that we can't keep going that way, and they come up with the right ways to get us out of the situation. Moving on to this, federal government to settle 187.32 billion naira contractors' debt by November 2023. It sounds as though a lot of Nigerians have forgotten that we are still in heavy debt because of how much drama how much we have going on in the country right now. When there was going to be a switch between administrations during the whole transition and all of that, a lot of Nigerians were very, very focused on our debts, and everybody's like, we're in so much debt, what is this government gonna do about it? And now we're not even thinking about that. We're thinking about eating for today, and sadly it just might be worse by this week or in the coming weeks.
The debts will have to increase because now the government doesn't even have money. That is why you see us having challenge with the issue of exchange rate when they are telling you that CBN used to give the commercial banks dollar, but they no longer give them dollar. That's because the government don't have money to give.
Absolutely, the government is bankrupt.
Now they will have to look for money from elsewhere,
and one would wonder where we want to sponsor a whole war from. But let's not digress. The administration of President Bola Tinubu will likely spend about 187.32 billion naira to settle debts owed to local contractors this year, according to findings by, of course, The Punch. Now, the debts were listed as promissory notes in a document titled Schedule of Promissory Notes, issued by category as at September 30th, 2022 by the Debt Management Office. According to Investopedia.com, a promissory note is a debt instrument that contains a written promise by one party, the notes, which is usually the note's issuer or maker, to pay another party, which usually is the note's payee. A definite sum of money, either on demand or at a specified future date. Section 4 of the Government Promissory Notes Act states that government promissory notes are paid from general revenue and assets of the Federation. It read in part, the principal sums and interest represented or secured by any government promissory notes are hereby charged upon and shall be payable out of the General Revenue and Assets Federation. Well, we observed that 2 promissory notes were issued to settle local contractors. The first was issued on November the 23rd, 2020, while the second was issued July 12th, 2021. The debt payment is expected to be in Naira, dollar, and euro, according to the document from the CBN. The Naira liability is 57.83 billion Naira. The dollar liability is $26.48 million. Which translates to 19.78 billion naira, and the euro liability is 133.76 million euros, which of course translates to 109.71 billion naira. Both promissory notes were expected to be settled by November 23rd, 2023. Now, it was earlier reported that the federal government owed contractors about 11.16 trillion naira for the construction of various highways across the country and certificates of completion. Now, it's very sad thinking that, put yourself in the shoes of the contractors. I am hoping they actually got the job done and got the job done right. Because it's one thing to issue out contracts in the country, and it's another thing to see that the contracts that have been issued out are actually being carried out.
Yeah.
It's not very common to see. A lot of times we see people awarding people in the right in the position to award these contracts, award them to their friends and their family members, and we see that nothing is actually done.
Yeah, that's
or nothing worthy of note is actually done.
That is why we tend to have a lot of abandoned contracts in this country, because of why we don't follow. When we issue contract, we don't monitor, we don't follow and evaluate to see the extent of compliance, what is stated in the contract terms. Have they been duly followed in terms of the standard, in terms of the completion rate, that is the time frame, and all of the conditions stipulated in that particular agreement. We don't tend to follow that, and until we start to do that, we will get to be having this kind of challenges. But again, when we talk about the promissory notes owed to contractors, that is local contractors by the government, it is also a responsibility that the government to also meet up with their own part of the bargain, because it is more or less like an IOU. Mm-hmm. The government is saying, I am going to pay you up so time, or when you demand, like when you call for your money, but this time around the time has come up, so the payment should be made. In as much as we're talking about the government not having enough money, but government is a continuum. The previous administration that collected the money might have used it to do government businesses. So also when it's time for repayment, regardless of the situation, you just have to pay your obligation. They are part of your liabilities that you have to settle.
We do hope that they meet up to it if the government has enough money to do that. You should pay your debt, basically, as a nation or as an individual, right? Now, what was it called now?
Moving to aviation now.
Oh, okay. I was thinking we'll take the let's look at the NBS, the National Bureau of Statistics. From their desk, they're saying transportation cost has increased by 98% in 1 month. 98%. Oh my God. Okay, this is the story. The average cost of bus transportation within Nigerian cities rose from 649.59 naira in May 2023 to 1,285 naira 41 kobo in June 2023, as the pump price of premium model spirit rose, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Now, this means that the cost of intra-city bus transportation rose by 98%, or by 636 naira within 1 month. Figures obtained from the Transport Fair Watch report of the NBS for June 2023 revealed it said this includes the breakdown of bus journeys within cities per drop, constant route, bus journey intercities, which is state route, changed per person, amongst other means of transportation. Now, on a year-on-year basis, It said bus fares rose by 120.63% from 582 naira 61 kobo paid by commuters in June 2022. You know what this means? We have almost 100% increase. When I say almost 100%, it is very close to 100% because just 2% off of 100%, and that is the increase we have on intra. So movement within cities. Has cost of living increased? Absolutely. Has the wage of the average Nigerian person increased? No. Let's take other stories, Aliu.
All right, so with the NBS, let's take a look at this. Foreign investment in manufacturing drops by 35%. Still, according to NBS, foreign investment to the manufacturing sector dropped by 35% from $392.5 million in the fourth quarter of 2022 to $256 million in the first quarter of 2023. The National Bureau of Statistics Capital Importation Report for 2023 first quarter has shown, according to the reports, the total capital importation into Nigeria in first quarter of 2023 stood at $1.1 billion, lower than $1.5 billion recorded in first quarter of 2022, indicating a decrease of 28%. Despite the decrease, capital importation into the production sector ranked second with 22% share of total investment, while the banking sector recorded the highest inflow of $304.5 million, representing 26.89% of total capital imported in first quarter of 2023. In recent months, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria had warned that the increasingly harsh business environment occasioned by high energy costs, lack of access to funding, multiple taxation, amongst others, had scaled down investment into the sector. According to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria biannual economic review, investment in the manufacturing sector dipped to 145.59 billion naira in the second half of 2022 in comparison to 160.88 billion naira in the corresponding half of 2021, representing a decline of 15.29 billion or 10% decrease. It further declined by 32.8 billion naira or 18% when compared with 178.39 billion naira recorded in the first half of the year. Manufacturing investment totaled 323.98 billion in 2022 as against 305.2 billion naira recorded in 2021. So according to MAN, that is Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, the decrease in investment during the period was mainly caused by the government's debt issues, high borrowing and energy expenses, and weak consumption. In a recent interview with The Punch, the president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria said that more international manufacturing companies may leave the country should power distributors implement the planned tariff hike. He added that some international manufacturing firms had already exited Nigeria as a result of the power crisis, coupled with the unpredictability of the country's foreign exchange rate before it was recently unified. Meshoye said manufacturers provide almost every infrastructure by themselves outside the major roads. You find out that manufacturers provide water, power, security, and the like. So when you look at it, you find out that the cost of doing business is so huge.
How wrong or right will it be for someone to say we are currently in an economic crisis in the country at the moment?
Very right.
Or are we waiting?
We are there already, because I saw one headline that says CBN may lose control of Naira.
Absolutely, we took that this morning.
When I was interacting with Rufai earlier today, I told him that I think we've already lost the
control
Naira already, because CBN don't get to control the Naira based on what is happening now. People just go with the parallel market.
Absolutely,
because that is where you go to get the.
That's where you actually get it.
Yes,
that's where you actually get it. You go to the bank, you don't.
Since the banks are even saying they don't have access to it like they used to.
I tell you what, Aliu, I just last week we needed dollars, went to the bank, and then the person that, you know, when you have your person at the bank, my person at the bank says, or even manager name they list, and we laughed over it, but it was very sad. You have to join a long list. The manager of the bank needed, and you know, this is not new.
You have to continue to wait.
And the reason why the person I was looking for, you know, my partner, he was like, let's just go to, what's it called? Is it Wuse?
Yeah.
And go and get this thing.
Zone 4.
I was like, let's go to the bank, since let's be the citizens of the country that are helping the country do the right thing. And we go to the bank, and then there's a long list. I'm gonna have to wait months before I can get the dollar. Meanwhile, I drive to Zone 4 and I see it there, and we keep asking, why are we not dealing with the root cause of this problem? Why is it that we're always putting personal interest ahead? Because if you dig down to the root of the problem, it's not like we don't know what to do. It just doesn't benefit some people as much as it would if this was scarce. Anyway, let's look at the world of aviation. NCCA to ground erring airlines over poor insurance. The National Civil Aviation Authority has vowed to sanction airlines and allied services providers that fail to maintain adequate insurance coverage for their aircraft and other aviation equipment. Now, the aviation industry regulator said it was mandatory for all operators to comply with the Nigerian Civil Aviation Rights, regulations 2022. Now, according to the CAA, compliance entails maintaining adequate and valid insurance cover, submitting copies of valid insurance certificate to the authorities, and evidence of payment of premium and other policy documents of insurance cover of not less than 3 months. The NCCA directive was contained in an all-operator letter referenced NCAA DGAIR 11-16-369 and dated August 11th, 2023. Now, the letter addressed to all airlines and allied aviation service providers. It was signed by the Director General, NCAA, Captain Musa Nuhu. According to the NCAA, the compliance is sequel to the coming into force of Nigeria CARS, that's NEED CARS 2022 on July the 10th, 2023.
That's civil aviation regulations.
Yes. Now, the regulations make it mandatory for all airlines to comply with Part 16.14.1.1 of the regulations. The letter read in part, specifically Part 18.14.1.1 of the regulations provides amongst others, that all airlines and other allied aviation service providers must not operate without adequate and valid insurance cover, submitting to the authority copies of valid insurance certificate, evidence of payment of premium and other policy documents of insurance cover, and not less than 3 months as specified in IS 18.14.1.1. It is important to have an insurance document which must be adequate and renewed before the expiration of the current policy and be submitted to the NCAA as soon as it is renewed.
All right, let's take a look at another aviation-related news. Nigeria aviation safety has improved, according to Afri Air boss EL. In an interview he was granted by Punch, the managing director of Afri Air International Limited and a former senior special advisor on aviation matters to 3 former presidents of Nigeria, Captain Shehu EL, in his interview with Fumi Fabumi, speaks on the need for more government intervention in the aviation sector, where he said there is a great leap and great fulfillment in the airline business in Nigeria. Notwithstanding the circumstances and situation they found themselves, you can see the number of airlines we have today and the improvement in facilities at the airports from what we had 10 years ago. You can also see the new planes that are coming in. The aircraft is quite modern, cost effective, and very, very safe to use. You have to be fair to the airlines. What about the cost of aviation fuel? That is talking about price now, which you know is a major factor. What of the cost of acquisition of these aircraft, which you know is very high, and you pay heavily for aircraft leasing and insurance. If you are in Nigeria, you know what we go through. But overall, I think the fares should be looked into and stabilized for better conditions, both for the passengers and the airlines. But for now, I think the demand side is higher than the supply side, and sometimes it determines the price. Most airlines in the world don't acquire aircraft directly, they lease. All right. That's partly what he said, but we cannot go into full details of that. But again, we just have to look at the positive, just like he highlighted, talking about the state of our aviation industry 10 years back and what we have today. There is a huge improvement. And when you talk about the pricing policy, he said the demand side is kind of overweighing the supply side, and that is why the fare is a bit high, but there should be stabilization or stability in terms of the fare.
Well, still in the transport industry, terminal operator achieves 3 million hours injury-free time. West Africa Container Terminal in One, Rivers State, owned by APM Terminal, says it has recorded 3 million man-hours without lost time injury in its ongoing phase 2 terminal upgrade and expansion. In a statement on Sunday, the company explained that no lost time injury, which was a crucial indicator of the effectiveness of an organization's safety program, meant no damage was sustained on the job by an employee or contractor that resulted in the person being away from work due to his injury. The terminal operator further said in 2020 that it launched its $110 million phase 2 upgrade. The statement read in part, the upgrade covers the acquisition of 3 additional mobile harbor cranes to bring the number of MHCs at the terminal to 5, acquisition of 20 rubber tire granny cranes, 3 reach stackers, 13 terminal trucks and trailers, an empty container handler, deployment of reefer racks, and 600 plugs capacity, as well as paving off the current yard and expansion by 13 hectares, new workshop and new terminal gate complex. Well, I mean, this is pretty much good news, and we do hope that we have more terminal operators achieving more across different sectors. Now we have let's look at the mortgage. In the world of mortgage banks, FHA Mortgage Bank disburses 10.6 billion naira to 962 beneficiaries, says the MD. Now, the Federal Housing Authority Mortgage Bank says it has disbursed 10.6 billion naira National Housing Funds loans to 962 citizens. The managing director of the bank, Hayatuddin Awal, revealed this during the handover ceremony of houses to batch 1041 beneficiaries of the NHF loans, most of whom are doctors, recently in Abuja. Now, he said this event is to celebrate successful processing, disbursement, and eventually handing over of keys and possession of houses to successful beneficiaries, most of whom are medical practitioners and doctors. Today, the FHA Mortgage Bank is proud to mention that we have so far accessed these mortgage loans to the tune of 10.6 billion naira on behalf of 962 Nigerians, and the houses cut across all strata of citizens. These houses are in Abuja, Lagos, Akwa Ibom, Imo, Enugu, Plateau, Kaduna, Kano, Sokoto, and Zamfara states. All of these are fully built houses, and people are staying there currently. Hayatuddin stated that the agency had created over 200 jobs using the housing index, noting that through this, we are employing the entire value chain, enabling employment, income, and industrialization, fulfilling President Bola Tinubu's vision of delivering affordable housing for Nigerians. Well, I mean, sounds like good news to me.
Yeah, it sounds like good news, but not sufficient, if you ask me, because for you,
how many Nigerians do we have?
Of course, that is what I was about saying. With the number of civil servants we have in Nigeria, if you, as an MD of an organization talking about Federal Housing Authority, Mortgage Bank, Nigeria entirely, covering over how many, 5 or more states, you are able to get 920 something houses, 962 houses. I don't think that's something
cut across all those states.
Yeah, I don't think that's something you can beat your chest and say you've done something great. When you are coming to tell us that you are able to provide housing for a million, so number of million Nigerians, that is when I'll be celebrating. But again, yeah, you've done what you can do, but we are calling that you should do more, because personally I feel this is not something we should be clapping or applauding you for.
I mean, there's so much more to be done.
Of course.
Sadly, we're so. If you see the attitude of the government, or of people in authority, basically, like Ali will say, the powerful people.
Of course.
If you see their attitude, it's so lackadaisical, as if they don't understand the urgency of need to be proactive. Anyway, we have just about a minute to wrap up. Ali, what are we looking at now? Let's look at the CBN.
Yeah, we just inflation rate still at 22.41%, weighted average rate of I&E 747.449 to the dollar, monetary policy rate 18.75%, then crude oil price as at Friday, that's Brent, which is the benchmark, $90.75 per barrel.
Well, here is our quote, business quote for the day. Your business location can significantly impact its success. So take your time, research thoroughly, and envision how the location fits your overall business strategy. That's what we've got for you today. That brings us to a close on Business Around Town Monday edition. I am Chinwe Blessing, and I had a great time.
And my name is Ali Udoma, and I hope you are able to get one or two information about business in Nigeria. And if you do enjoy what you listen to, you can go to our YouTube channel to watch what we do over there. We have a lot of videos there that can really add value to your life, and you don't want to miss it, because we don't have time to tell you everything about that. But if you really want to get more, go to our YouTube channel. You get that VOP 961, or you just type Voice of the People Abuja. And we also have very good presence across all socials, VOP 961 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Thread.
Absolutely, that's where you can find us. And don't forget, if it affects one Nigerian, if it affects all of us, do your own part. Do your own part, as little as it is. And for